Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of At the Bar featuring yours truly, Ryan Carter. This week we're doing another springtime favorite, Sangria, which is a stretch to call it a cocktail, but we'll allow it. Um, Sangria is made in a number of ways, and like most of the drinks we do here, there's no one right way to do it, and there's not really one specific origin. However, we can kind of trace sangria through history. It's actually very similar to mulled wine. Um, it gets its origins traced all the way back to ancient Greece and Rome when drinking water was hard to actually keep safe. So what people would do, they found that alcohol was oftentimes, even though it had, side effects of making you drowsy or giggly or goofy or lightheaded or whatever, drunk, mixing it with your water made it safe for the water to drink because the alcohol would kill the bacteria in the water. Not that they really knew that, but they knew that putting alcohol in water made it safe. And no one really wants to drink just watery wine, so they would put fruit in it to add flavor. And in ancient Greece and Rome, they would also put spices in it, and sometimes would heat it up. That's how we got mulled wine. But when they didn't heat it up, that's what we got, something that was much more reminiscent to sangria. Now, Spain picked up the tradition in the 700s from some vines that they had, that had been planted by the Romans. And then when they got taken over by the Moors, the tradition stopped until the late 1400s, when they picked it back up again. Now, sangria, I found a couple of translations for the word. Some say that it means blood in Spanish. Some say it means bloodletting in Spanish. Either way, it's in reference to the color of the wine because it's traditionally done with a red wine. And really now we have just kind of carried on the tradition of putting fruit in there because it adds a light aromatic flavor to it. I don't think people are still using wine to make their drinking water safe. At least I hope they're not. So sangria has really now become a very fun and popular drink to get at garden parties for spring and summer. It's tasty, it's fruity, it's light. Some people don't really like the flavor of wine, so by putting fruit or fruit juice, sometimes even sparkling seltzer water in there, you kind of thin out that sometimes bitter or dry flavor of wine and make it a little bit more palatable for some folks. For the one that we're doing today, we're going to feature 3 different fruits in there: blueberries, strawberries, and oranges. We're also going to add a little bit of brandy to make it a little bit stronger. And we're going to put a can of hard seltzer from Beltway Brewing Company in there, to lighten the flavor up and also add a little bit to the alcohol content. What I did find interesting is apparently in Europe, there's only 2 places where sangria can actually be made. Now, whether or not that's true, I found this on one of the websites when I was looking up the history of sangria. But apparently under European law, all sangria must currently be made in Spain or Portugal and have less than 12% alcohol by volume. Now, that's the type of sangria that you see in like Giant or something like that, where you can walk up and buy a bottle that says sangria and it looks like red wine, but it's been altered and then put into a bottle. It's not what you would see at like a garden party in a pitcher. One last little fun fact. Apparently sangria didn't become incredibly popular until the 1964 World's Fair in New York, when Spain's Pavilion had sangria as their featured drink, and it really caught on in America, and now that has become a highly popular drink for spring and summertime events. So now that I've talked your ear off, let's go over and see how to make this week's sangria. Okay, so for sangria, for this purpose, we're going to be up here in my kitchen since I wanted to prep on an actual counter space. We will be putting the sangria in a nice jug because typically you have that at like a garden party or something like that. I went ahead and prepped the fruit before the video started, but essentially you just want to put, fresh fruit, so strawberries, blueberries, oranges are nice, sweet flavors that'll complement the wine. 2 bottles of 750 milliliter wine. This is a red, it's Merlot, and a 2018 vintage, so not bad. We are also going to be using some more of Beltway Brewing Company's Brilliant Hard Seltzer, this time the Watermelon Mint, and a half cup of brandy just to spice things up a little bit. So, like always, we're going to go ahead and start out by just pouring our liquids in first. It's always a pleasant sound, and you love to see all that wine flowing. Now, this is a 2-gallon jug. We will not be making 2 gallons of sangria today, but I didn't really have anything in between, so for all intents and purposes, didn't realize that was open. That's exciting. Always make sure you close your plugs before you pour your liquids. Also a pro tip there. Thought it was closed. My bad. All right, so we got our 2 bottles of wine in there. We're gonna pour the 12 fluid ounces of hard seltzer in. Now, you don't have to use a flavored hard seltzer. You can just use regular seltzer water. Doesn't have to be alcoholic either. It could just be seltzer water. But that gives it a little bit of a bubbly, lighter feel. And last but not least, we're gonna put our brandy in. Okie dokie, we got all that in there. And now we're just gonna add our fruit. You can put as much or as little fruit as you want in there. Obviously, the more fruit you put in, the more flavor you're gonna get out. But it's really up to you, and kind of have to base it off of the size of your pour. For this one, since we're doing 2 bottles, I went ahead and put a fair amount of fruit in here. This is actually 6 ounces of blueberries. I put about 10 fresh cut strawberries in there. And that is an entire orange that has been sliced. So we'll see what that kind of brings us flavor-wise. And once you've gotten all of your fruit inside your container with your wine, you're gonna wanna stick it in the refrigerator for about 2 hours, and that'll give it time to A, chill, and B, all your flavors will get married together. If you go ahead and pour it just right off the bat, it'll taste fine, but it won't have given it a chance to put everything, get all the flavors combined together. So yeah, and I don't think my oranges are gonna fit in there, so we're gonna have to go grab a knife really quick and cut those oranges a little smaller, because you don't want to have to force them into the hole. I like full slices of orange because it looks really nice in the glass if you have a nice big circle like that. But if it's not going to fit in the container, it doesn't really do you much good. Okay, so I'm going to finish cutting these up and then put the sangria in the fridge, and then we'll come back in about 2 hours and give her a taste and see what it tastes like. All right, so I figured I'd come back down to the bar to finish this up, but here we have our sangria, refrigerated for 2 hours, and then you can just leave it in the fridge after that, unless you take it outside for a party or something. I like to put an orange slice across the top. It's nice and festive, but you can also just put it on the side, or you don't have to put any at all. But let's give this a try. Yeah, well, it pretty much tastes like red wine with an orange in it. It's not bad. Definitely a little bit more heat than you would normally get from wine because of the brandy in there. The longer you leave it, obviously, the more the fruit flavors are going to mix in there. It's nice. It's definitely light and refreshing. And I'm sure the flavored seltzer water kind of gives a little bit, but there's not like bubbles. We didn't put enough in there that it was going to be a sparkling wine. It was just to give a little bit more flavor and a little bit of lightness to it. But yeah, so cheers to your next garden party, and I hope you enjoy.